It is my great pleasure to invite Luka Stefanko on stage. He's a senior malware researcher at INFOSEC in Slovakia, home of some of the coolest video games written during the 1980s. Lukas tackles a topic we don't talk enough about. He will describe some of the vulnerabilities he discovered in Android stalkerware apps. Lukas, the floor is yours.
So hello, everybody, again. Today, right now, I would like to share with you our research about vulnerabilities and privacy issues discovered in Android stalkerware applications. If you thought that social media knows everything about you, you were right. However, today I will tell you that there are apps that know even more. Would you like to know more? Have you ever been feeling like spied upon? Have you ever encountered strange behavior of your smartphone? Have you ever had a feeling that you know that somebody knows, but you don't know how they know? They might know because they installed stalkerware software in your smartphone. So, what is stalkerware? Simply put, it's a spying app. Stalker needs to have physical access to your smartphone. This cannot be done remotely. Unlock it, sideload the application, enable all the necessary permissions, and well, based on these permissions, we can tell what are the capabilities of the software. Application is then hidden from the victim's view, and it might impersonate or masquerade as, for example, settings application, where these apps could be downloaded from. Besides shady sites, they were available even on Google Play Store, posing as kid or employee spies, resulting in fact that it wasn't that difficult to install these apps whatsoever. Precisely, they were installed over 140,000 times from Play Store alone. Based on our data from our Android client devices, as you can see in the slides now, these apps have become more and more popular in the last couple of years. In 2019, we detected 5 times more installs as in previous year. Last year, detection increased up to 48%. We see the popularity is still on the rise. So how can we make sure no one is looking over our shoulder? This problem has been discussed, and luckily for us, it has been solved. How? By either manually or automatically using trustworthy software that detects, informs, and removes our uninvited guest. However, its enormous popularity made us wonder and worry about one more problem. Who else might be watching? Since stalkerware gathers more private data about their victims than any other app you have installed in your smartphone right now. And I'm talking about the privacy and security of victim information that might be at risk, since such software can access almost all the sensitive user data. When we picked one of the most popular social media applications and compared it with stalkerware, it's important to say that this app requests permissions only when necessary. For example, when a user wants to take a picture, there is a request to give permission either one time or during using the application. Contrary, stalkerware, in order to work properly, all the permissions needs to be checked. As a result, the stalker has full access all the time. Let's take a look. The phone on the right belongs to the attacker. The attacker is not a stalker, not an abuser. It's a person that misuses security issues found in stalkerware software. The victim and the stalker are not aware of the attacker or these actions. The phone on the left belongs to a victim where application is already set up. So the attacker sends text message to a victim's smartphone. The app would process the text message and trigger a phone call back to the attacker or back to whoever sent the text message, instantly opening microphone spying opportunities. Please pay attention to upcoming slides where we will deep dive and share with you our research, where we focus on privacy and security issues discovered in Android Stalkerware, and we'll close all that with responsible disclosure to affected vendors. First things first, where from we gather these applications. There were various sources, starting with Stalkerware indicators of compromise that were available or still are on GitHub. At that time, there was around 40-45 applications. Then based on top most popular detected Stalkerware apps from our database that were used in year 2020, paid advertisement, PR articles, top Google search. Because of that, we gathered information about 86 different mobile Stalkerware vendors. However, mobile Stalkerware is divided into two main platforms, Android and iOS. We focused only on Android. The reason is simple: the market share, over 70%, and the easiness of side-loading third-party applications. Comparing to iOS based on the websites and tutorials how to set up the Stalkerware, Stalker needs to either jailbreak a smartphone before or already have iCloud credentials. And there is one more reason why we decided to focus only on Android, and that's from all analyzer vendors, all of them provided Android solution, but only something over 37% iOS as well. So what was our plan? What we did? We analyzed 86 different vendors providing Stalkerware by analyzing 86 different Android Stalkerware applications using manual, static, and dynamic analysis to observe its behavior and capabilities. We'd also like to state a fact that this was not a full penetration test. We focused only on privacy and security issues with serious impact on their clients, victims, or a company. However, the matter is really serious. There were some limitations. I would like to go through them first. Because we haven't paid for any of the software, we didn't want to support them. We were limited by the provided functionality of the application and the admin panel, which is responsible for sending commands, receiving data, and storing them on server. Still, we were able to fully test 72 applications out of 86, where 14 were limited to static analysis only. What were our results? From these 86 apps, we identified security issues with serious impact in 67% of these apps. 33% were without serious security or privacy issue discovered by us. Altogether, we identified 158 exploitable problems in these apps. Now we'll jump into particular problems. Even because of the limitations, we were able to discover 158 problems, such as leaks on the network, possibility to frame a person, control remotely through text message, open directory leaks, account takeover, possibility to live stream from smartphone. I prepared 2 more video demonstrations of exploiting some vulnerabilities. I will go through them briefly. Now I will go through some of the most serious ones. Starting with HTTP leak, since many of these apps used for communication, app and a server not secured, not anyhow or additionally protected HTTP protocol. To explain, when a user installs Stalkerware in smartphone, first it needs to be set up, which means either create account or log into account to sync smartphone and the admin panel, which is controlled by the user. However, for 22 apps, Stalkerware would send credentials to server through HTTP, not anyhow protected. It means that the attacker on the network, using man-in-the-middle technique, could intercept the communication, steal the credentials, take over account of the stalker, and remotely control victims' smartphone. Besides credentials being transferred over HTTP, Stalkerware also downloads additional binaries or updates of itself, which are then either installed or dynamically loaded. However, there is a missing integrity check. Because of that, the attacker on the same network, again through man-in-the-middle technique, could replace the binaries for the malicious ones and trigger code execution on a smartphone. The most common issue was actual leak of all the extracted data from smartphone that are being sent to server. Again, we found this vulnerability in 22 applications. Now from a leak on the network, I move to the leak on the smartphone, which is a leak of a personally identifiable information where these data are stored, gathered data are stored on external shared media, which means these data are accessible to other third-party apps installed on the smartphone with a read storage permission. In one case, we found that the Stalkerware stored admin token on the shared media, which means third-party apps could access and take over account of the abuser. Some of them also provided keylogger functionality, meaning they could log all user input from all applications. These keylogs were not protected and accessible to other applications. They actually log all sensitive information, including the password, as you can see from PayPal as well, which means that third-party apps installed on the same smartphone could access this file and take over other accounts, not just stalkers. The most frequently seen device leak was unprotectedly storing this extracted data, such as recorded phone calls, taken photos, screenshots, in some cases even calendar events, browsing history, contact list, phone number, etc. From the leak on the network, through leak on a smartphone, I went right now, move to the leak on the server. User data leaks to open directories. There were available data such as victims' photos, recorded phone calls, details about the person, such as names, physical addresses, text messages, social media messages, email addresses. These data were accessible without any authentication for anyone. Victim data forgery. During analysis, we discovered and tested that manipulating with the victim's data wasn't a problem. Many apps used for pairing device and the server unique device ID, such as email or Android ID, instead of using server-generated token. However, these IDs are easily obtainable by third-party apps that are installed on the smartphone. There are two impacts, or two scenarios how this can be misused. The first one, if application is using not secured HTTP protocol to communicate with the server, it is possible for the attacker on the same network to intercept the communication and forge any data, frame a person to make her life a bit more difficult, which means uploading custom photos, videos, received messages, etc. Second case scenario, third-party apps on a smartphone could obtain the device IDs and upload, make post request, custom data to frame a person, upload fabricated information, which could be then even blackmail the victim. In the case of no internet connection, some of the apps provided ability to receive text messages commands. However, not all of them verify if commands are received from abuser, and because of that, anyone could remotely control victim's smartphone by SMS commands. There are two things necessary. The first are SMS commands. These commands are available on the websites of the provider of the application. And the second is a phone number of the victim, which is already either known to the attacker or it could be found extracted, for example, from social media. I prepared a demonstration for this one, similar as the one you see before. So before, the phone on the right belongs to the attacker. The phone on the left belongs to a victim. where Stalkerware is already installed, the attacker sends text message with the command found on the website of the Stalkerware. Victim receives the message, app would process that, and it would trigger immediate sharing GPS location or send the GPS location to anyone who sent a text message, in this case, the attacker. Because of unprotected exported components of the Stalkerware, it is possible to trigger restricted Stalkerware functionality. As a result, any applications installed on a smartphone could, through Stalkerware app, without permission, take pictures, record calls, record surrounding audio, take screenshots, wipe data, enable, disable GPS, reboot, etc. And afterwards, gather these files, these data, since they are stored again on shared external media. What happens when spying ends? This is a photo taken by a Stalkerware of my ceiling while it was lying next to me. Even though, and this photo is still accessible on their server, even though me as a stalker, I removed the account, I unlinked the smartphone and removed all the data logs. Unfortunately, this photo is still there. Besides all the taken photos, there are to this day available my call logs and my text messages on their server, available to anyone without any authentication. In other cases of these apps, these data are not removed immediately when requested, but rather it takes 90 extra days to be deleted. Hard-coded secrets found in Stalkerware apps. This is not about a token or password, as you might expect, but rather just 3 server links that are responsible for triggering a live stream. What this is all about. In the app are hard-coded links that could, through server, trigger live stream from a particular smartphone. The only thing that's necessary is device ID of the smartphone. However, the Stalkerware app stores the ID on external shared media, which means this is accessible to third-party applications that have read storage permission. I prepared a video demonstration for this one. So on the left side, we have a smartphone of the victim and the 3 windows. The first one is a notepad that contains the hard-coded link with appended ID. Then we have a browser and a VLC where we just try to watch a stream from a victim's smartphone since the link was in APK. However, the stream is not enabled. First, the attacker needs to make 2 GET requests to our browser to server, and server of the Stalkerware would enable a live stream from that particular smartphone without any authentication to anyone, and the victim cannot see anything being done or happening on her smartphone. These were the most prevalent issues found in these apps. After we identified these problems, we reported them to affected vendors. We follow 90-day disclosure practice, which means contacting the vendors up to 3 times, either through mail or through support ticket, and then making phone calls if possible. In 2 cases, we were not successful reaching to the vendors. The first case was, as it appeared, a full inbox of theirs, and the second case, it was not possible to create a support ticket. It always returned through after various attempts. Was the result of a responsible disclosure. 10% of affected vendors communicated with us and fixed the problems within 90 disclosure day period. 12% of the vendors communicated with us and promised us to fix, but the patch was not delivered within the 90 days period. And 78% of them did not reply back nor fix the problem, which means that 90% of affected vendors have still these vulnerabilities. And this is the reason why we decide not to publish a full list of apps and connect them with actual particular problems being discovered in them. Now, before summary, let's quickly go through a compromise scenario and a couple of prevention tips of Stalkerware. So how it looks like from the attacker or stalker's perspective. Stalker needs to have physical access to smartphone. Again, this cannot be done remotely since Stalker needs to set up account, which means unlock a smartphone, know a PIN or password pattern, sideload the application. That's it. It takes 2-3 minutes to set it up. Afterwards, app is hidden from the victim's view. What to do? Make sure, from the victim's perspective, make sure to have enable lock screen protection. The best way is a PIN, not easy, not trivial, not easy to guess. And if you believe, don't share it. And if you believe someone knows it or accessed your device, make sure to scan it with a trustworthy security software that would identify such apps being installed. What are the compromise signs of Stalkerware being installed in your device? There's a higher or battery drain faster, I would say, since it's running 24/7. It has to communicate with the server by sending data, receiving commands, sending pictures, etc., which means higher internet consumption. GPS, Wi-Fi, or mobile data might be enabled or disabled by itself without user interaction. There might be a suspicious persistent notification in notification bar that was not there before. Photos, screenshots, audio recordings stored in your smartphone that was not done by you, which is a result of extracting data and storing them on shared media. And then, for example, receiving or found received questionable text messages, which might be commands from abuser. To summarize, a number of detected stalkerware has been increasing. As you saw, based on our data in the year 2020, we see the increase of detection on client devices up to 48%. Problem is that these applications gathers, process, send more private information about their users, about their victims than any app you have in your smartphone right now. Another problem is that these apps contain a lot of security issues that have actual impact on these users. And based on our experience, the vendors don't really care about their clients since these products, or many of these products, are not free and they are paid or they have subscription. They're not willing to fix them nor even communicate with us back. We would also like to appeal to anyone who might be thinking of using such software to reconsider that. Using Stalkerware to spy on your spouses, it's not just unethical, but it also reveals private and intimate information about them, but also about those who installed it and want to spy on their close ones. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Lucas. This has been a stellar presentation, and I'm glad that here at DefCamp are talking about these kind of issues that I think should be addressed more within the cybersecurity community. And kudos for all the ethical considerations that were involved in this particular research. I was wondering if there was any memorable exchange that you had with these app vendors.
There were a couple of them.
Okay.
I would say. I was surprised when, in actually 2 cases, they appreciated that we reached to them, that we tried to fix the issues, that they even wanted to publish their own blog post. Of course, this never happened, but I appreciate the attitude. And in other case, one of the vendor did not like that we are trying to snoop on their application. He was threatening us with a law affected way. So We tried to figure out how to deliver the patch as soon as possible. And afterwards, a couple of mails that were exchanged with the vendor or the developer, we found a way, we found a consensus, and he actually appreciated it. We found the issues and he fixed them.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything interesting that you left out when you built this presentation? Is there anything else that you want us to know?
Let me quickly recall. I believe I tried to include all the important and also interesting information in here. So I would say probably not.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you again for this. This has been amazing. And I'm glad that we were able to host you today.